Revising and editing is one of those parts of the writing process that ends up becoming very difficult and time-consuming. What do I mean by that? We correct all of our students' work. We have many conferences with them. We try to give them feedback. We're doing all the work. When we revise and edit, many times we're the ones doing all the corrections on the paper and then showing the children what they need to do. Sometimes we'll have things called checklists, and on that checklist we'll have things like, do you have a complete sentence? Is your writing organized? Does it make sense? Do you have adjectives? We'll have a checklist with these items on it, and what do the children do? They end up checking each one of those items. Do they know whether they have complete sentences? Do they know how to go back and fix that sentence? What I have found is no. So with revising and editing, the typical you correct the paper and give feedback to your students and hope that they improve their writing, and or we give them a checklist, they go to their papers and check whether or not they have those elements in place and then need to fix it. We're going to set that technique aside, and in my revising and editing chapter, we're going to come up with a completely different way for students to revise and edit their work. And in order to do that, we need to have concrete methods for our students to be able to go to their papers and identify whether they're organized, whether they make sense, sentences are complete or not. These methods need to be taught to our students, and then they need to be responsible to revise and edit their own work. Remember, we're not going to be with them forever, so we need to give them those skills. When students have those skills to fix their own papers, they metacognitively understand writing at a much deeper level. Because when they can go into a paper, understand how to analyze it in order to see if everything is in place or to add, delete, change things around. That is a skill that is not only going to help them fix their paper, but to analyze and understand writing at a deeper level. Imagine what that does to their reading. When you can analyze writing at a deep level, you're also able to analyze reading at a deeper level too. We always want to think of reading and writing go together. Let's turn to the next page so I can show you the activities I developed for children to have many revising and editing skills under their belt so they can fix their papers independently. On this page is a picture of a revising and editing bulletin board. This shows how I teach revising and editing. I basically have divided it up into 3 parts: organization and ideas, sentences, and then also conventions. The first section will be organization and ideas. That means that we will look at every genre, narratives, opinion writing, as well as informative and explanatory writing. When our students finish writing their papers, they will go back and make sure that all the necessary elements and ideas in order to write information or an opinion or a narrative are in place, are in their papers, as well as that they are organized, that they make sense. When I say ideas, the word ideas and content mean the same thing. You will see it many different ways. You will see organization and ideas, content and organization. It's really the same thing. This is the first activity that you want to teach your students when they revise and edit. It's at that meaning level. You're looking at the big piece of writing, the whole piece. And we're going to do an activity called Circle and Label. Once students have content and organization down where they can circle and label the parts of their paper, we will then go to the next section of my revise and editing activities, and that is the sentence level. First of all, going to check to see that we have complete sentences, as well as different lengths of sentences so that you have more style and pace in your writing. We'll also identify whether a sentence is a fragment or a run-on and how to fix it. So notice, everything in my revising and editing is going to be how to identify if there's an error or a problem in your writing, and then we will have some sort of a tool or technique in order to revise or fix that error. We have our sentence lengths, our fragments, our run-ons, as well as word choice. The words that we have in our sentences. Do we need more precise words? Do we need more sophisticated words? Do we need to take some words or phrases out? Do we need to add some? I will show you an activity for that as well. And finally, smooth transitions. We will look at many different ways to smoothly transition your sentences so they're more cohesive and coherent. And in order to do that, the students need to identify that they'll need a transition and then what transition and how to add that transition. So we have many activities here for our sentence level. And how will we teach those skills to our students? I have manipulatives, a little toolkit for your students, and you have black line masters to make these in your manual that you use to help students identify as well as fix their writing at the sentence level. And there's 3 different manipulatives that we will go through in order to teach students this. Finally, we have our conventions. In this section, we'll look at spelling and grammar for conventions. We'll have our spelling for high frequency words, sight words, spelling patterns. I'm going to show you many different techniques in order to give students feedback so that they fix their spelling like a good speller. That's the key. For our grammar, we will be looking at subject-verb agreement as well as verb tense. On the next page, we have the revising and editing, organization, and ideas. What you will see behind me are some charts that I would have displayed in the classroom that look very similar to the charts that you see on this page. This is a bookmark that we give our students that is connected to a specific genre. For example, this is a bookmark for opinion writing, and then you have an opinion piece of writing completed. Notice there's circles and labels that identify the parts, the introduction, body, conclusion, and then there is a labeling of those parts. On the bottom, you'll see here's an example of a narrative with our beginning, middle, end. In the beginning, all the parts necessary for the beginning of a narrative are labeled. In the middle, they're labeled, and at the end, they're labeled. We have all that information on the bookmark, and then they're going to circle and label the parts of their paper to make sure that they're organized and all the parts are there. Let's go to the next page for you to see what the tools are for sentences. On the next page, I have complete sentences with varied lengths. This manipulative flipbook will be the tool students use to check for complete sentences, for sentences with different lengths, for fragments, and run-ons, to identify these issues in writing as well as how to fix any of those problems that they may have in their writing. Below that is sophisticated word choice table chart. This table chart will go from left to right order in order to make sure that they don't have redundancy in their writing, that they aren't using the same words over and over again. And also they're going to use this chart for word choice so that they can make more sophisticated, higher level sentences. The bottom manipulative is the smooth transitions accordion booklet. Different types of transitions, which are displayed in boxes, to choose from, creating even more style to their writing. Finally, on the next page for conventions, I have 3 activities to remind students how to implement these strategies in their writing. The top picture is an activity that we do for verb choice so that the students learn past, present, and future tenses. Also, the genres that are usually connected to those tenses and how to fix verb tense so that it's consistent throughout their writing. Next, you will see subject-verb agreement. First thing students will need to do is identify their subjects and their verbs and check to see if they are singular or plural. Then they need to make sure, is my subject, if it's singular, then my verb needs to be singular for agreement. This activity shows students how to identify the subject, the verb, whether it's singular or plural, and that they match. And finally, on the bottom, This is a spelling chart to mark a student's paper so they can correct it. The onus will be on the student. And when they fix their spelling errors, the whole purpose of your feedback and how they fix their spelling errors is that they are going to fix them like a good speller. To complete this overview, please turn to the next page. This is our Revise and Edit Teacher Manual. All the following pages are going to be our detailed lessons to teach organization and ideas, sentences, as well as mechanics. Let's get started.